On a sunny Tuesday afternoon at Riverdale Middle School in Phoenix, Arizona, an incident unfolded that would linger in the memories of those who witnessed it. As lunchtime began, the concrete yard behind the cafeteria was filled with the sounds of laughter and chatter. Kids were running around, sitting in groups, tossing footballs, and sneaking sips of soda they had brought from home. It seemed like just another ordinary day for most students. However, for one girl, it would quickly become a day she would never forget. Her name was Sarah Johnson, a sixth grader known for her intelligence and quiet demeanor. Sarah used a wheelchair, which made her stand out among her peers. While she tried her best to engage and be part of the social scene, her wheelchair often set her apart, marking her as different in an environment where conformity reigned. As Sarah wheeled herself to a quieter corner near the fence, she felt a sense of relief. The noise of the crowd faded, providing her with a moment of peace to think. Just as she was adjusting her lunchbox, a group of 3 boys from the 8th grade approached her. They were known troublemakers, tall and loud, reveling in their ability to make others feel small. One of them shouted, "Hey, Wheels!" Sarah stiffened, glancing up at them. For a fleeting moment she attempted a smile, hoping it was just a harmless joke, but her hopes were dashed as the taunts continued. "Where are you heading? Taking a pit stop?" One boy sneered, circling her like a predator. The third boy chimed in with laughter, pulling at her backpack. "Bet she runs on batteries." Their laughter echoed, a cruel sound that made Sarah's heart race. Despite her calm demeanor, she felt the familiar sting of humiliation. "Please give it back," she asked, her voice steady but filled with desperation. The ringleader, a boy named Kyle, leaned closer, a smug grin on his face. "Make me!" he taunted. In a swift, brutal moment, Kyle shoved Sarah's wheelchair, causing it to tip over. She fell sideways onto the ground, scraping her elbows against the warm pavement as her books scattered in all directions. Gasps erupted from a few nearby students, and a girl covered her mouth in shock. A boy started to step forward to help, but hesitated as Kyle glared at him. Silence enveloped the scene as Sarah lay there, one shoe lost, a fresh scrape blooming on her arm. Yet she didn't cry out. She didn't scream. Instead, she began pulling herself upright, reaching for her fallen chair, while the 3 boys walked away, snickering and high-fiving each other. No adults were in sight. The nearest teacher was distracted, engrossed in her phone. Students at nearby tables whispered among themselves, some looking guilty, but no one stepped in to help, except for one girl. Standing a distance away, arms crossed, was a 12-year-old named Mia Thompson. She was neither tall nor loud, but she had been watching the entire incident unfold. When Sarah fell, Mia's jaw clenched, not out of anger or fear, but from a deep sense of injustice. She didn't rush over immediately. Instead, she took a moment to think. Mia was the kind of girl who blended into the background until you noticed her. She lived with her mom and older brother in a modest apartment a short drive from school. Mornings were filled with discipline. She began her day with stretching and martial arts practice. Taekwondo was more than just a hobby for her. It was a way of life. Her instructor often reminded her that power is useless without a focused mind, a lesson she took to heart. As Mia processed the events she had witnessed, she felt an overwhelming sense of responsibility. She had seen the bullying, the silence, and the indifference of those around her. It wasn't that she didn't want to intervene, she simply wanted to ensure that when she did, it would be meaningful. Mia Thompson was a typical middle school student in many ways, but she possessed a quiet strength that often went unnoticed. At 12 years old, she had developed a strong sense of self, shaped by her experiences and the lessons learned from her Taekwondo training. While she didn't seek the spotlight, Mia had an innate ability to observe and assess situations around her, which made her more aware of her surroundings than most of her peers. Mia lived with her mother and older brother in a modest apartment not far from Riverdale Middle School. Her mornings began early, often at 5:30 a.m. when she would stretch and prepare for her taekwondo practice. The discipline she learned from her martial arts instructors became intertwined with her daily life, teaching her the importance of control, focus, and respect. Each belt she earned, from white to yellow and all the way to first-degree black, was a testament to her commitment and hard work. Mia understood that strength was not just about physical power, it was also about knowing when to act and how to respond to challenges. Although she was not particularly outgoing, Mia had a small group of close friends who appreciated her thoughtful nature. During recess, while others might be loud and boisterous, Mia preferred to sit quietly under the shade of a tree, observing the dynamics of her classmates. She often found herself lost in thought, mulling over the interactions she witnessed and contemplating how she could contribute positively to her environment. That day, however, her world was about to be disrupted by the actions of her peers. When Mia saw Sarah being bullied, her heart sank. She had been watching from a distance, noting how the boys approached Sarah with their mocking laughter and cruel taunts. At first, she felt a mixture of anger and helplessness. She knew she should do something, but her instincts urged her to think before acting. Mia had seen bullying before, and she understood the complexities involved in intervening. It was essential to approach the situation carefully and thoughtfully. As Sarah fell from her wheelchair, Mia felt a surge of emotions. She clenched her fists as the boys laughed, the sound piercing through her like a knife. Mia didn't act out of anger. Instead, she focused on gathering her thoughts. She recognized that simply rushing in without a plan could escalate the situation further. Mia was determined to make a difference, but she wanted to do it in a way that would resonate with her classmates and challenge their misconceptions about strength and bravery. At lunch, Mia sat at her usual spot under the tree, her mind replaying the events of the day. Her friends joked and laughed, but Mia's thoughts were elsewhere. She felt a responsibility weighing on her shoulders, knowing that she had the skills to intervene, but also aware that she needed to choose her moment wisely. As she observed the boys laughing at their own cruel joke, Mia knew she had to prepare herself for an inevitable confrontation, one that would require not just courage, but also strategic thinking. Mia was ready to stand up for what was right, and she was determined to ensure that Sarah's experience would not be forgotten by anyone at Riverdale Middle School. As the lunch period continued, the atmosphere at Riverdale Middle School began to shift. Whispers about the incident with Sarah started circulating among the students, but they were not the kind of whispers that brought clarity or resolution. Instead, they echoed the cruelty of the moment, morphing into a kind of twisted gossip that only fueled the shame surrounding what had happened. Mia sat at her usual table, her heart heavy with the weight of inaction. She could feel the tension in the air as she observed her classmates reacting to the unfolding drama. In the science classroom, the atmosphere was thick with unease. Mia tried to focus on the lesson, but her mind kept drifting back to Sarah. She could hear the faint snickers of Kyle and his friends behind her, mocking Sarah's fall with their crude jokes. "Did you see the way she went down? Like a clumsy shopping cart," Kyle's voice echoed, and laughter erupted from his crew. Mia's grip tightened on her pencil, feeling a deep sense of anger rise within her. She wanted to turn around to confront them, but she remained silent, weighing her options. Mia glanced at her friend Jake sitting beside her. He leaned closer and whispered, "Are you going to report them? Someone should say something." She shook her head, knowing that simply reporting them wouldn't be enough. "No, I want to handle this differently," she replied, her voice firm. Mia understood that just telling a teacher wouldn't change the mindset of her classmates. What she needed was a way to challenge their behavior head-on. As the bell rang, signaling the end of class, Mia noticed that the hallway was buzzing with students eager to share what they had heard. Kyle and his friends were congregating by the lockers, reliving their cruel joke like it was a badge of honor. Mia felt a surge of determination. The boys didn't just need to be stopped. They needed to understand the impact of their actions. When Mia stepped into the hallway, she spotted Sarah wheeling herself out of the counselor's office. Although Sarah appeared composed, Mia could see the remnants of discomfort lingering in her expression. Kyle's smirk was unmistakable as he pointed at Sarah and shouted, "Look who rolled back in." A few students laughed hesitantly, unsure of how to react. Sarah tried to turn away, but the humiliation hung in the air like a thick fog. Taking a deep breath, Mia stepped forward, her heart pounding. She could feel the eyes of her classmates on her, some filled with curiosity, others with indifference. "Hey, Kyle," Mia called out, her voice steady but firm. The laughter faded as Kyle turned to face her, surprise flickering across his face. "What do you want, Thompson?" he sneered, puffing out his chest. Mia took a step closer, maintaining eye contact. "You think it's funny to bully someone who can't stand up for themselves?" she challenged, her words cutting through the tension. The hallway went quiet, the weight of her statement hanging in the air. Mia could see the confusion in Kyle's eyes as he processed her words. Rather than backing down, she pressed on. "You're not tough for picking on someone smaller. It just shows how weak you really are." The reaction from the crowd was electric. A few students exchanged glances and whispers began to ripple through the hallway. Mia wasn't just standing up for Sarah. She was challenging the entire culture of bullying that had gone unchecked for too long. Mia's confrontation marked a turning point. She was ready to take a stand and show her classmates that true strength came from defending others, not from belittling them. This was just the beginning of a battle for respect and empathy that would unfold in the days to come. With the tension still thick in the air, Mia stood firm, facing Kyle and his friends. The hallway was silent, every student caught in the moment, unsure of how to react. Mia could see the uncertainty creeping into Kyle's expression as he processed her words. She knew this was her chance to make a real impact, not just for Sarah, but for everyone who had ever felt marginalized or bullied. "Do you really think it's funny to laugh at someone because they're different?" Mia continued, her voice steady and unyielding. "Sarah didn't ask to be in a wheelchair. She's just trying to get through her day like everyone else." Her words resonated with some of the onlookers, who began to shift uncomfortably. Mia could see heads nodding slightly as a few students started to understand the gravity of the situation. Kyle, feeling cornered, shot back defensively. "What's it to you, Thompson? You think you're some kind of hero?" His bravado was faltering, and Mia could sense the unease among his friends, who were no longer laughing as loudly. "I'm not trying to be a hero," she replied calmly. "I just want you to understand that your actions have consequences. You might think you're funny, but you're actually making people feel small." At that moment, Sarah, who had been watching from a distance, gathered her courage and wheeled herself closer. Her cheeks were flushed, but she held her head high. "I don't need your pity, Kyle," she said, her voice unwavering, "but I won't let you treat me like I'm invisible anymore." The bravery in her words sparked a change in the atmosphere, and some of the students began to clap softly, a ripple of support growing louder. Mia felt a surge of hope. The support of her peers was crucial. It was a collective acknowledgement that bullying was not acceptable. "You see," Mia said, turning back to Kyle, "this isn't just about you and me. It's about all of us. We can choose to be kind, or we can choose to be bullies. But if we want to create a positive environment, we need to stand up for each other." Kyle's friends shifted uneasily, their earlier bravado dissipating. Mia had managed to spotlight the toxicity of their behavior without resorting to anger. Instead, she had challenged them to reconsider their actions and the effect they had on others. The crowd was beginning to rally behind Sarah and Mia, recognizing the strength in solidarity. As the bell rang, signaling the end of the period, Mia took a deep breath, feeling a mix of relief and adrenaline. She had stood up not just for Sarah, but for herself and every student who had ever felt overlooked. This was a defining moment, not only for Mia, but for the entire school community. In that moment, Mia realized that confronting bullying required not just courage, but also a commitment to fostering an environment where empathy prevailed over cruelty. She had set the stage for real change, and she was determined to follow through, knowing that the fight against bullying was far from over. Her actions had ignited a spark, and she hoped it would inspire others to join her in standing up for what was right. As the days passed following Mia's confrontation, the energy at Riverdale Middle School began to shift. The incident with Sarah and the bullying had sparked conversations among students, and whispers of support began to echo through the hallways. It was as if a dam had burst, allowing students to express their thoughts and feelings about bullying and kindness openly. While some continued to gossip about the incident, many others reflected on their own behaviors and the role they played in the school's culture. In the cafeteria, Mia observed a noticeable change. During lunch, students who had once laughed at the expense of others were now more cautious with their words. Sarah, who often sat alone, was now surrounded by a group of supportive friends, including Mia. The girls chatted and laughed together, creating a bubble of positivity that was hard to ignore. Mia felt a sense of pride as she watched Sarah come out of her shell, her confidence growing with each passing day. However, not everyone was receptive to the change. Kyle and his friends still lurked around the school, their demeanor quieter but still charged with defiance. Mia noticed them exchanging glances, their expressions a mix of resentment and confusion. They hadn't expected Mia to confront them, and the lingering embarrassment began to wear on them. It was clear that their previous bravado had been shaken, but they were not ready to admit it. One afternoon, during a science class, Mia found herself seated next to Jake, who leaned over and whispered, "Do you think Kyle will try something again?" Mia shook her head, her resolve unwavering. "No, I don't think so. He knows he crossed a line, and I think he's starting to realize how serious this is." She had confidence that the collective awareness among the students was acting as a deterrent against further bullying. As the week progressed, the principal announced an upcoming assembly focused on kindness and respect. Mia felt a flutter of anxiety in her stomach. While she was proud of what she had accomplished, she also felt nervous about the spotlight. She knew that her actions had ignited a conversation, but now she had to consider how to continue that momentum. On the day of the assembly, the gym was packed with students and teachers. Mia sat near the front, her palms slightly sweaty as she fidgeted with her shirt. Principal Roberts stepped up to the microphone, addressing the room with a sense of purpose. "Today we're here to talk about the importance of kindness, empathy, and standing up for one another. We've all witnessed how our actions can affect others, and it's time we take responsibility." As the principal spoke, Mia's heart raced. She felt a wave of determination wash over her. The message was clear. Kindness wasn't just a choice, it was a responsibility that everyone shared. Mia realized that this was her opportunity to reinforce the lessons learned over the past week. When it was time for students to share their thoughts, Mia's hand shot up. She could feel her pulse quicken as she approached the microphone. This was her chance to encourage her peers to embrace empathy and make a real change in their school community. She took a deep breath, ready to inspire others to continue standing up for what was right, knowing that together they could create a space where everyone felt valued and respected. As Mia approached the microphone, she felt a mix of nerves and excitement swirling inside her. The gym was filled with students, their eyes fixed on her, waiting to hear what she had to say. Taking a deep breath, she reminded herself of the journey that had brought her here, the bullying, the confrontation, and the overwhelming support that had followed. This was her moment to make an impact, not just for herself, but for everyone who had experienced bullying. "Hi, everyone. My name is Mia Thompson," she began, her voice steady despite the flutter in her stomach. "I want to talk about something important that affects all of us, kindness and how we treat one another." She glanced around the room, locking eyes with a few classmates who had supported Sarah. Their encouraging nods gave her the strength to continue. "Just a week ago, we witnessed something that should never happen in our school. A classmate was bullied, and instead of stepping in to help, many of us just stood by and watched. I was one of those people at first, and it took me a moment to realize that I had the power to say something." She paused, letting her words sink in. "But we all have that power. It's not just about being brave in the moment. It's about making a choice every day to be kind." Mia could see that her words were resonating with her peers. She continued, "Kindness isn't just a nice thing to do, it's essential. When we choose to be kind, we create a community where everyone feels safe and valued. We can change our school culture, but it starts with each of us taking responsibility for our actions." As she spoke, Mia remembered Sarah's bravery and how much it had inspired her to act. Sarah is more than just a girl in a wheelchair. She is our friend, and she deserves our respect and support. We all have something unique to offer, and when we lift each other up, we all succeed together. The room was silent, and Mia could feel the weight of her message hanging in the air. She took another breath, ready to deliver her final point. "So I challenge each of you today. If you see someone being bullied, don't just stand by. Speak up, help out, show kindness. Let's make it a point to reach out to those who might feel alone. We have the power to create a school environment where everyone feels included and respected. Let's be the change we want to see." With her heart pounding in her chest, Mia stepped back from the microphone, feeling accomplished. She had shared her message, and she hoped it would inspire her classmates to take action. As she returned to her seat, applause erupted in the gym, a mixture of surprise and admiration echoing through the room. Mia looked over at Sarah, who was smiling brightly, her expression one of gratitude. In that moment, Mia realized that the journey was far from over, but they had taken a significant step. The assembly had ignited a spark, and she believed that together they could build a community rooted in kindness and support, transforming their school into a place where everyone could thrive. As the assembly concluded, the atmosphere in the gym was charged with a sense of hope and determination. Students filed out, buzzing with conversations sparked by Mia's heartfelt words. It was clear that the message of kindness and support had resonated deeply within the student body. Mia felt a swell of pride as she watched her classmates engage with one another, discussing how they could contribute to a more positive environment at Riverdale Middle School. In the days that followed, Mia noticed a tangible shift in the school culture. More students were greeting Sarah and inviting her to join their conversations and activities. The once loner, who had sat quietly in the corner, was now becoming a valued member of their community. Mia often found herself sitting with Sarah and her new friends, sharing laughter and stories, and witnessing the transformation firsthand was incredibly rewarding. However, the real test of change came when Kyle and his friends returned to school after a brief absence. Mia could see the tension in the air as they walked through the halls, their heads held low, avoiding eye contact. It was evident that the confrontation had left its mark on them. Some students whispered as Kyle passed, but instead of sneers and laughter, there was a palpable sense of caution. They were no longer seen as the untouchable bullies. They were just another group of boys grappling with the consequences of their actions. Mia knew that it was essential for everyone to learn from this experience. Not just the bullies, but the entire student body. One afternoon, she gathered her friends, including Sarah, Jake, and a few others, to brainstorm ways they could continue promoting kindness throughout the school. They decided to create a kindness campaign where students could share stories of positive interactions and support one another. The campaign kicked off with a wall of kindness, a bulletin board where students could pin notes of appreciation, encouraging words, or stories of kindness they had witnessed. The board quickly filled up, each note a testament to the change taking root within the school. Mia felt a sense of fulfillment as she read the messages, knowing they were fostering a culture of empathy and understanding. One day during lunch, Mia noticed Kyle sitting apart from his friends, looking lost and unsure. Remembering the importance of empathy, she decided to approach him. "Hey, Kyle," she said gently. "I know things have been tough lately, but everyone deserves a chance to change and grow. If you want to talk, I'm here." To her surprise, Kyle looked up, his expression softening. "I didn't mean to hurt anyone," he admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. "I guess I didn't realize how my actions affected others." Mia nodded, appreciating his honesty. "It's never too late to make things right. We can all learn from our mistakes." Their conversation marked the beginning of a tentative friendship, one built on understanding and mutual respect. As the weeks turned into months, the kindness campaign continued to thrive, transforming Riverdale Middle School into a haven of support and friendship. Mia realized that while the journey to create lasting change was ongoing, they had already made significant strides. Together they had not only stood up for what was right, but had also learned to uplift one another, ensuring that no one felt invisible again. In the end, Mia understood that courage comes in many forms. It's not always loud or dramatic. Sometimes it's simply the choice to reach out, to listen, and to care. She had become a catalyst for change, and as she looked at her classmates, Sarah, Kyle, and the others, Mia felt hopeful for the future, knowing that kindness could indeed reshape their world.